good afternoon. Now, Cosatu will no longer allow President Zuma to address its events. The Labour Federation's General Secretary, Xoli Mngambi, says the decision will be communicated to the ANC officially. A special sitting of Cosatu's Central Executive Committee making the decision a little earlier today. Reporter Xoli Mngambi has been tracking that story for us. He joins us live from Cosatu House in Braamfontein. And just remind us, first of all, why Cosatu has seen fit to take this decision.
Jeremy, I couldn't get your question quite clearly there. You broke off a bit. Could you repeat, please?
I will indeed. Just remind us, Xoli, why Cosatu has made this decision.
Well, Jeremy, this decision, you'll remember that on May Day, on the 1st of May, during what was some of Cosatu's 16 rallies that took place around the country, the main May Day rally, which was in Braamfontein. That rally, remember, President Jacob Zuma was heckled, he was booed, up until a point where it resulted that the organizers of that event said that it had been abandoned. Now, ahead of that May Day rally, Jeremy, you'll remember that some of the affiliates of Cosatu came out very sharply through media statements saying that they didn't understand how President Jacob Zuma was going to be allowed to address a Cosatu May Day rally, the main rally for that matter, Jeremy, given that Cosatu had taken a decision at one of its Central Executive Committee meetings that President Jacob Zuma should step down. He no longer enjoys the confidence of Cosatu. Now, subsequent to that, Jeremy, indeed, things went ahead and President Jacob Zuma did appear in Braamfontein, and as we know it, he wasn't able to address that particular meeting. Now, this is the background, Jeremy, to this particular decision now that is taken by the special Cosatu Central Executive Committee meeting, that the Federation is saying that they realize it was inconsistent with the calls for President Jacob Zuma to step down by Cosatu, that then the same Cosatu would allow President Jacob Zuma to address a May Day rally, and therefore then it is decided that he is no longer welcome to address any of the Cosatu activities from here on.
Now, Xoli, it raises two issues. One, about the state or the implication on the alliance itself. And secondly, where does it leave the Federation's president, Xoli Mngambi, given that not too long ago he was seen enjoying himself at President Zuma's birthday celebrations?
Well, let me tackle your last question, Jeremy. It was a number of journalists here who put that question to Xoli Mngambi directly, Jeremy. In fact, I asked him myself that given this decision that's now been taken by Cosatu, does he regret standing up at the podium on the 12th of April during President Jacob Zuma's birthday celebrations in Kliptown? Does he regret saying that President Jacob Zuma still enjoyed the support of Cosatu workers? Well, there was no answer to that. In fact, if anything, Jeremy, it was people sitting around Xoli Mngambi, some of his fellow leaders, who actually jumped to the rescue to try and explain that, yes, indeed, relationships are there, but we must remember that those personal relationships that get formed along the way, they must not and they do not affect the organizational interests of a Cosatu that is in bed or in alliance with the ANC. And of course, tackling your first question, Jeremy, the implications of this decision by Cosatu leaders to bar President Jacob Zuma from addressing any of their events, well, they're saying that they are actually going to report to the ANC this decision of theirs, and they will therefore discuss the implications. But some of the questions that arose, Jeremy, in relation to this were that, so how is it going to work, this particular decision? Will Cosatu leaders be allowed to sit on platforms where President Jacob Zuma is addressing? Will they be allowed to address in those platforms? Well, the response there, Jeremy, is that if it is government events, because Cosatu is in alliance with the governing ANC, then Cosatu leaders will attend those particular events. However, it does appear that the events that particularly have to do with either the campaigns that are currently ongoing regarding the ANC conference in December. It remains to be seen whether any of Cosatu leaders will be sitting side by side President Jacob Zuma. And I suspect in this regard, Jeremy, Dumo Dlamini will be the man to watch whether or not he's going to again associate himself in platforms where President Jacob Zuma is concerned.
Now, the decision, I understand, is going to be formally communicated to the ANC. What's the countermeasure then as far as Xoli House is concerned? How will the ruling party respond?
Well, this is the big question mark, Jeremy, and I suspect even if I tried to respond to that particular question of yours, I may be challenged by Xoli House. So perhaps let's wait on Xoli House to give us a way, or to give us the line of march as to how they're going to deal with this, because things have just gotten complicated, Jeremy.
And that I'm certainly not putting you in a position, Xoli, where I want you to speak full at Xoli House. So let me move on very deftly if I can. There's another important aspect that has emerged from this briefing today. And this also has critical implications as far as the country's economy is concerned. Cosatu is saying that one of the unmentioned reasons, in inverted commas, for General Motors disinvesting from South Africa was as a result of, and again I quote, lack of leadership. If that is to be believed, that is also a very disturbing turn of events this afternoon.
Indeed, Jeremy. In fact, I raised that question after, of course, referring to their statement. Their statement, Jeremy, it says quite clearly that one of the unmentioned reasons, as you say, by General Motors disinvesting from South Africa was as a result of the lack of leadership. And it goes further, Jeremy, to say some of the issues raised by foreign investors, and of course, having been raised by ratings agencies, is that unless there is a leader they can trust, only then perhaps can there be a change of heart or a change of minds with regards to reinvesting in South Africa. So I put the question to the leadership of Cosatu that does this mean that President Jacob Zuma has effectively begun costing the country? His leadership has begun costing the country. Well, the General Secretary of Cosatu, Xoli Mngambi, said, well, look, we can't say that definitively, but we can tell you that there may be many reasons why General Motors South Africa has decided to go, and one of those may be that President Donald Trump, when he came into office, he said to all the American companies, come back into the country. We will try and incentivize you here, but do not go and give jobs away in other countries. So this may be part of the reason why. But he did say, Jeremy, that they cannot discount the fact that there is political instability in South Africa, and therefore this may well be one of the reasons. But it does appear to me, Jeremy, that they're being diplomatic about this issue, because it is, and in fact, the fact that Cosatu itself is saying it's one of the unmentioned reasons, it means that they know more, and it could very well be that they are saying indirectly that President Jacob Zuma has effectively costed the country, and his continued leadership, it will possibly continue to cost the country.
All right, we look forward to your full report on that briefing on the channel a little later. eNCA reporter Xoli Mngambi live from Cosatu House in central Johannesburg.